What's up, everybody? Welcome to Riff On This, candid conversations behind the music in Florida. And if you know anything about Florida and the music, you know that this is a big old state, and boy, do we have a lot of talent. But we're here for all of the juicy details and amazing stories behind all of the rhythms flowing through all the genres in Florida. So, with that being said, I'm your host, Samara Kokinas, taking a break from the weather to catch a musical vibe with you. In the studio today, I have the man, the myth, the legend, Junebuhg here with me. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. And thank you for bringing the bug swag. I am so excited about this shirt. It fits perfectly. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
You have your own line?
Yes, my own clothing line.
I love it.
Yes, it's called Street Certified Wear.
Street Certified Wear. I love it. I love it. And it's super sparkly, which, of course.
For me, female, got the, why not to shine?
Shine bright like a diamond,
exactly.
Right?
Why not?
All right, so, we're friends.
Yes.
That's how we roll around here. Let's let everybody know exactly who you are. Where are you from? How did you get here? And of course, what got you into music?
Basically, I've been here since '93. Like everybody else, the family makes you move to Florida, I guess. My grandfather moved to Florida and the family just continue moving down here. And I always into music. Music was basically, not in the household, but in my life. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I remember just being 8 years old, listening to music, recording music from the radio station late at nighttime and getting yelled at by my parents. So it was like, I just took the hobby of just recording tapes and just made it a business afterwards.
Nice. I remember I used to try to make my own mixtape, and I would wait for the DJ because I knew at the very end he would always come on air, and I'd try to stop that recording of the radio song that I wanted so the DJ wouldn't interrupt.
Yeah, crazy part. I used to get yelled at so many times from my parents from taking their tapes and putting a little piece of tissue in the top portion so I could record over it.
Yeah.
So, how it calls the households, it's full of Latin music, but now when I came around,
it was full of hip hop after that, right?
Rap music back then,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So
when you started getting into the DJ role, when you came to Florida, what was that like? Because I know it's a lot different than up north.
So again, I've been DJing I can't remember when I even started, but I did my high school graduation prom night, and I did the school out there. It's called, I guess. Everybody, all the seniors leave, so I did. Oh. So I did that party as well, stuff like that. I think I started maybe 8th grade. I started my first gig, I think. Mm-hmm. Was basically DJing for that first, and then I turned to high school, and then from there, just kept on doing little gigs here and that. But I moved here in '93, and the scene in Florida was very, very different compared to what I was used to, music-wise.
What was it?
It was.
I remember what it was.
I mean, it was basically it wasn't even Dirty South. It was 69 Boys, and I think during that time it was all Miami bass music. That's what it was really. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't. I wasn't about that. You know what I'm saying? I remember during that '90s, it was basically the MC Hammer, the Vanilla Ice Age, stuff like that, which to me wasn't hip hop, it was rap music. Mm-hmm. Wasn't my thing, but that's what was going on. And when I came from New Jersey, moving out here, it was like, what is this? What's this Miami music? Or a lot of bass and stuff like that. It wasn't me. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't feeling the vibe, so I had to change the vibe.
So when did you start changing that vibe? I mean, how did that even roll about?
So basically, I went to a party. I moved here, I think, in '93 I think it was August, July. I can't remember exactly what month it was.
It was hot.
It was hot. It's always hot. The stage of Florida hotness is beyond my vocabulary right now. Try to keep it clean. So it was hot.
You call it trash a lot. She says that to me all the time when I give you the forecast. I get it. But you should have been acclimated by now.
No,
right?
I can't. I try to, but I can't. I just can't. But going back to, so I went to a party in the community center in Poinciana, which a lot of people don't know. That's far, far, far in the South. Yeah. Not Miami South, but Kissimmee South, Mm-hmm. So I went to a party. Of course, you're a DJ during those days, you carry records with you. So, you never know when you might be asked to get put on or what. So I just carry records with me because that was just being a DJ. So we did back then.
It's heavy too.
Yeah, yes. Well, sometimes you find people. But during that time, I had nobody here, so it was myself carrying my records. But I carry a record bag, and that was it. Went to his community center party, and all I hear was just bass music, like this
Uncle
Miami
Luke.
bass, yeah, Uncle Luke, and whatever else was going on through that time, and it wasn't me, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, I still the vibe. I ran to somebody else who's actually from On Top means from New York and stuff like that, who's a DJ, and he started playing some rock music. I was like, okay, it's not just, it's okay, you know what I'm saying? But it's not what I'm used to, I'm used to the real rap, that turned into hip hop later on in life. So we started a conversation. He asked me if I want to get on. I said, well, if you don't mind, yes. I'll open my bag, and I had the hip hop records that people call hip hop nowadays, and during that time being a DJ, if you was really in the business, there were certain records that other DJs couldn't get, not even radio DJs at the moment, and were called bootlegs. And when you have bootleg records, those are the records before they actually hit the label. And now they call it, now back after a couple years later, they call them, I think, white label afterwards, because the bootleg couldn't, use that word no more.
Yeah.
But I had some records in there.
A little illegal.
I had some, some good treats, that basically people were not used to the vibe, but they got used to it afterwards, But that's how basically I got my start, basically from introducing myself as a DJ in Florida, was that little community center party in Kissimmee, well, Poinciana.
Nice. And how were the people that night? Do you remember the vibe whenever you put your own records on?
I mean, during that time, everybody's young. I'm young. Everybody's, I can imagine they probably was 17, 16. So I don't. There's a Poinciana back then. If you knew Poinciana, it was so dead. They had like one gas station, one supermarket. The hangout was Walmart. I mean, Winn-Dixie was the hangout. So
Pleasant Hills, right? Pleasant Hills.
Yeah. One road Pleasant Hill, and I think maybe one road in Poinciana Boulevard. But I mean, it was a vibe because there was nothing else to do. So people were partying no matter what. If it wasn't in the community center, it was at the house. Because from that community center, it turned into house parties, and everybody used to love a good house party back in the days. So I grew up on house parties, out here more than I did up north, So, but the vibe was good. I mean, the vibe didn't change because what I was playing didn't make. I guess it didn't make sense what you was playing at the moments because people were having a good time no matter what, So the 40 ounces were out, stuff like that, So
oh man, you just
old English,
back.
Yeah,
Some Boone's Farm,
exactly.
little 40.
Yes, stuff like that.
Oh my goodness.
So, we didn't have the stuff we have out now. There was no champagne and that stuff,
Yeah.
So the vibe was good though.
So, your name, Junebuhg. Come on,
so
where'd that come from? Everybody wants to know.
So June comes from junior.
Okay.
So it's short. I was always a person in class, always bugging out. I bugged out with the teacher. I didn't care. I got thrown out of class. I mean, I was just bugging. And I ran to another DJ. This is, again, this freshman year party, stuff like that. And like, June, you're always bugging. So I took just sure enough, I'm bugging to put a bug. And actually, I ain't changed the spelling to the word. So I moved to Florida. I gave that southern, vibe, He was like, well, why you spell it the way you spell it? Which I spelled it B-U-H-G. They're like, why the H? I'm from the South now, you know what I'm saying? You gotta bug, gotta, you just can't put bug, Everybody has a June bug in the family, but they don't have a bug,
Yeah, no,
like
exactly.
So,
well, you incorporated the southern draw.
Exactly.
You just haven't gotten used to the temperatures.
The temperature and everything else between, but yes. But yes, I changed the spelling a little bit. But that's how I got the name.
All right.
And I stick with the name forever, like something that sticks with you,
Yeah, absolutely. So over the years, I mean, you were a DJ for a long time. Did you ever go downtown Orlando and were a DJ down there?
Listen, I done DJ in every spot that changed their name 4 or 5 times that's in downtown Orlando right now. Buildings that are probably not even there no more, turn into maybe boutique shops, who knows what. But yeah, during that time, there was really, we're talking about early 93, we didn't really have a downtown scene yet.
Right.
It was all house party. We used to actually rent community centers back then and dope parties. And during that time, there was only a few other DJs that were actually doing the same thing myself and my partner back then were doing. And some of them are still around nowadays. I ain't getting no shine right now because it's too early for that. But those, we were just doing, it was a competitive sport, it's a sport basically, you do a house party on Friday, someone does on Saturday, stuff like that. So you have to be careful when you do your party, make sure that you don't step on nobody's toes and stuff like that. But
fair game, but maximum capacity.
Exactly, yeah. So you had to basically, find out who was doing stuff that you was doing the same level and stuff like that. And again, music-wise, there wasn't that many people doing that same music-wise. There was a lot of basically Miami music, stuff like that, Downtown ever came in afterwards, and yes, I ran through downtowns like you run to OBT, you know what I'm saying? It's like I ran through all that, you know what I'm saying? It's like there's not a club I can say I did not DJ in downtown, even from the UCF area. I mean, it's everywhere. And again, I didn't get to keep it also just in downtown in Orlando. I took my name to a brand and went other ways, other places as well, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I was going a lot to Tampa back then because Tampa was actually a good hip hop scene now and then. One cities, back then was good and to this day it's still good.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you ever go to Jacksonville or anything like that?
I did a couple days in Jacksonville, stuff like that. Not too much.
Vibe.
Different vibe. Small country, but stuff like that. But it was more basically I try to build my name, my brand where I'm from. Because if you can't make it where you're from, you ain't gonna make it nowhere.
Absolutely.
Stuff like that. So, but yeah, the downtown clubs, I've done them all.
So do you remember any specific time where it was just kind of wild that sticks in your brain to this day where you're like, yeah, there was this one night?
There's been so many. I can't even. I mean, I got hit with a bottle on my head. It's just like, again, the DJing is like a boxing. People like compare to just want to take your title away and stuff like that. And to this day I still hold my crown no matter what. There's many crowns out there, but I hold my own crown. And basically people know that I never stepped on nobody's toes to get what I'm at. I went my way. I didn't go everybody else's way. I went my way and made myself my brand.
You basically made your own highway out in the middle of nowhere, which is now Poinciana Kissimmee is popping.
Just want to buy a house, go to Poinciana.
Yeah, exactly. If there's room.
Yeah, it takes 2 hours to get home, but
traffic is unbelievable.
That's everywhere.
But does that remind you of up north anyway, or did you even drive? Like
I honestly. So I moved here when I was 21.
From Jersey, right?
From Jersey, okay. So Jersey City, you know what I'm saying? That's home, that's base. So really, I just got my license. Again, you don't really need a license up north. There's buses, there's trains, there's everything else. I mean, put it so I took 3 times my test to get my driver's license. You're a true Florida driver. Yo, that part of walking, if you can't do that, you fail. And that killed me 3 times. Until the 3rd time I finally passed. And the 4th time actually I passed it.
Wow. So,
but again, I passed it, and then like months later we moved to Orlando or to Kissimmee.
Gotcha.
So,
well, then you really needed it because
now I go up north, I don't drive at all.
I don't blame you.
I don't drive at all. It's been like that for about maybe a good 15 years or so. I go up north. I had taking the train, the bus, or somebody driving me around.
Right.
I just don't.
Transit system is it's very efficient.
It's crazy, but it's efficient, yes. But I just can't. I can't do the driving out there. I mean, out here is if you can see me or South Orlando or the Disney area, it's crazy to drive in that area. Just times that up north. So.
Oh, see, and I don't have time for traffic. I just. I know it's part of our daily routine, but I don't exactly work normal hours either. So I don't have to worry about that whole 9 to 5 traffic jam, which I see people sitting in for hours.
Yeah, hours.
Crazy, but they're making it better. They're making it better with expanding.
Little by little, they can keep on building homes, but not roads. We need more roads,
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So you went, you talk about building your brand, So tell me about how you got into producing.
So basically, DJing for a long time. I was always into music because, again, it was not in the household, but I made it in the household to my parents. And actually, a lot of my aunts. I grew up, my aunts, I have an aunt who was only a couple of years older than me. So she was like, my everywhere she went, she took me because that was the only way she escaped from the house. It's taking me along. I got to take. So I
got to take the
muscle. I grew up, right. I know it wasn't muscles. I'm a chubby kid, it's not about the muscles. She couldn't go out unless she took me. So I used to go to all the roller skating rings back then when, I couldn't really go because my parents wouldn't go, but my aunt took me. So I learned that the street life faster, the vibe, the music stuff, how people moved around and stuff like that. Just going with my aunt to those places and stuff like that. So, when I came to Florida, after DJing in all the clubs, stuff like that, a club thing to be a club DJ is good, but you always want more than that. So I took the vibe from being a club DJ to being a mixtape DJ and combine both together. So then radio was not really calling my name because radios have too many bosses. And I want my own boss. So, people say, well, if you need a radio, you don't need the radio. If you have the streets and you have the club, you don't need radio. So I built my name on that. So like everyone who will come out here from any A&R will always look for me first because they knew that I had the streets and I had the clubs. If I have those 2 things, I really don't need a radio. You know, radio will come to you if you want it, you know, stuff like that. Because, you know, a radio gig don't really pay. It gets your name out there to an audience.
Broad audience.
Right? But back then, there was not internet like the way it was now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, you know, it wasn't, you was just stuck in your own little 407, because there was no 321 back then. It's only 407. You know, so doing the mixtape game got my name bigger and bigger. So people, well, Junebuhg up in the mixtape, stuff like that, you know, from the mixtape went to the CDs. Now we in USB, stuff like that, and now, you know, digital download era now. But, you know, I had those two things. And a lot of radio DJs didn't like me because I had those two things, and I wasn't on radio. So a lot of A&Rs came to me first before they went to the radio. Because as they have an artist that's coming out, they will look for the guy who has the streets in control for the mixtapes. And I didn't just drop a mixtape that you basically have a song after a song. I'm talking about, I had artists that were upcoming artists host my mixtapes. You know, to this day, these names are big in the industry. They're household names. You know,
like who? Dímelo.
Akon.
Okay.
I worked on Akon, Pitbull, Joel Ortiz, and I can keep on going on. But these are like household names now, you know. And when there were nobodies, they A&Rs came to me.
So basically, you knew Pitbull when he was still wearing his jerseys, doing his underground work.
Yeah, yes, I knew Pitbull before Pitbull was Pitbull.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. When, you know, he was there, he was a little dog. You know, he wasn't Pitbull. Yeah, stuff like that. But yes, I know Akon when, you know, and I bring the story. He was so dark, we had to buy him white shirts so he could be seen in the club and stuff like that. You know, it's just people don't see that. You know, everybody sees June, but he's his own little lane. I'm in my lane for a reason. You know, and I built my own empire without following somebody else's, you know, lane or basically be on top of them. I did my own thing.
Yeah. And you're still cool with all of these people that you work with?
I'm cool with some of them still, you know, but you know, some people get a bigger bank account than I do. So, you know, they go to the next level, you know?
Yeah.
But, you know, something that I got records of, you know, from photos, some videos, stuff like that. I mean, I have so much stuff that no one can say I'm lying about it. I have
treasured memories at that.
Yes, exactly. You know what I'm saying? And I don't really need them, you know what I'm saying, to continue moving in life. You know, you experience, I mean, you can meet so many people in life and you can meet somebody one day, you won't see them again probably 10 years later. But if that communication was great between y'all at one time, it'd be great again as well. Yeah. You know, I always say never burn any bridges.
Small industry, big industry, but it's so like network.
Never burn any bridges. You know, you built Lego bridges because Legos always break apart. You know what I'm saying? So you can break a little part of the bridge, but don't burn it.
Right.
You know,
yeah, absolutely. So right now you're working on a big. What is this? Your fifth album?
This is my third album. Actually, my fourth album.
Okay, that's what I thought.
A fourth album, but I also produced 2 other albums as well.
Okay.
And yeah, so I'm like 5 or 6 already. I don't know.
So are we at liberty to say what the album's name is, or have you had it?
Yes, I have a name. I have a name for the album. It's called Ada, after my mom.
Oh, that's right. I'm so sorry. Just to let everybody know, your mother passed away.
My mom passed away about 1.5 years ago. And basically it's going to be released on her birthday.
Which is?
It's June 17th of this year. June 17, 2020. So I was like, what year in because
2022.
We're all outside now.
We're all outside. But the thing is like, it still feels sometimes like 2020 because I'm like, wait a minute, what year are we in anymore? It all blends together.
So it falls on her birthday. It's named after her. And basically it's an album not dedicated to her. There's actually a song or two for, you know, not just for her, but anyone who lost someone in life. The song is basically goes that way, that route, I guess. How you want to look at it. But it'll be 17 records. Her favorite number is 17. It's coming out to 17. So stuff like that. So there's a lot of things about her that will be in this project I'm working on.
That's a real sentimental way, though, to incorporate special numbers. Like my mother's favorite number was 13 because she adopted me on August 13th. You know, little things like that that people don't know, I think, really make, you know, moments that you have with your album so special, especially for your friends and your family, too. I'm sure your family is going to get really kind of... Yeah, like I said, I'm you know, it's hard to do it because people think I'm doing like a dedication just like to my mom, but it's not just about that. It's more about the date, the cover will be a picture of her when she had birth with me, you know, when she gave birth to me when she was 17.
You know, somebody, I think you said 17. So it's like the number 17 is very
Wow,
special,
that
right?
is very special.
Yeah, exactly. You know, stuff like that. So, you know, it's like it has to be done. Like I said, I'm on, you know, very short period of time. I basically has to get done by a certain time in May to get it out by the 17th of June.
Yeah.
So,
what kind of music are we talking about? I mean, like, I know
So-
you have a lot of different flavors that you go for. So
it's hip hop.
Mhm.
It's hip hop. It's R&B. I'm actually working on right now, actually, a Spanish trap record. I think right now I'm working on the third drill record, which drill is our new hip hop vibe music, but I'm trying to keep it that it's a drill beat, but the lyrics are not.
Okay.
The lyrics are more positive lyrics, stuff like that. Meanwhile, not positive. I'm not talking about the violence,
Right.
like everybody else is doing up top, you know,
Mhm.
stuff like that. But I might even have a record on it. I'm working on with somebody right now. I can't say the name yet because it's not official, but
Yeah.
might even have that. So it's a different vibe of, you know, different for females, for guys, for the streets, for the clubs, for anybody, you know, stuff like that.
Is it different compared to your past records?
No, I always go that route for some reason. I mean, my last album, my first EP, I went strictly, it was pre-certified.
Pre-certified. Okay.
So I went from pre-certified to certified.
Okay.
Now this album was called Street Certified
Uh-huh.
or Still Certified. I didn't do it because my mom passed away. I wanted
Take a break.
to take a break from that certified moment and just going.
But she's 100% certified.
Oh no, she's 100.
the real deal.
Yeah, no, she's the real deal. You know what I'm saying? But you know, I wanted to name it after her, so I kept it that way. So the pre-certified was, you know, just it was an EP really. It was an album, so it was an EP. So it's only 7 songs in the record. EP is 7 and below. 8 above is the album. So I did that. I did 2 movie soundtracks, also independent movie soundtracks.
Oh, cool.
So you know, the divide doesn't have to be hip hop.
Mhm.
It's talent. That's what I look for.
Good music is good music.
Good music is good music. You know.
Yeah.
You know, I tell you one thing. I don't listen to the radio. You know, I take songs from my house, put on a USB, put it into a truck, and I drive. You know, I think a good soul 70s, 80s music is a better 90s, a better vibe than what we're hearing right now. And even though I'm making music now, I still feel that the 90s and 80s are better than what's out now.
Well,
you
they're
know?
sampling. They're sampling a lot of records right now.
And that's what I do.
We've already heard that. We're like, wait a minute. To my kids, I was like, wait a minute. You know who did that original beat?
Yes.
You know, like Saweetie. She had original beat
Right.
done by
Mariah
Too
Carey.
Short, right?
Mhm.
So and I quizzed my kids, and my kids knew the answers. So I was a proud mother. Like I raised y'all right,
That's good.
just because I feel like, you know, over the years you can't disassociate yourself from all of the music that's passed
Mhm.
because it has
It's a
meaning
cycle.
it has meaning in the future. You never
Right.
know when you're going to hear that beautiful
Right.
sound again.
They always say, you know, the circle of life. You know, it's
Absolutely.
basically, but music's the same way too. You
It's
know,
like clothing.
right? 80s sample 70s.
Mhm.
You know, 90s sample 80s. 2000 sample 90s. And then at the 2000s, like a different type of era of music when then 210 hit sampling 2000. It just keeps on every 10 years.
Mhm.
And now, if you look at your top 20 records now, it's all basically records that were done in 90s and 2000.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so we get that. Look what happened in the halftime. How many proud
Yeah.
people would? Oh, that was my era. That was my era.
It was though. I mean, but then I realized that we're the target audience
Yeah.
for the bull
Yeah,
ass.
exactly.
It's not our parents
Right.
anymore.
Right.
You know, so but it was, and it felt good. It's that whole nostalgia that one song can
Yeah.
bring back.
Yes.
It's just amazing, and it's
Right.
powerful like that. So
Right. And it also has, you know, we're looking at basically, you know, almost like you said. I'm a grandfather, so, you know, yeah.
I'm a Coco. I'm a Coco. I haven't.
I'm a G-pop.
You're a G-pop. Okay, and I'm a
G-pop.
Coco.
Okay,
So we're good.
We're good. So we're good. So you got to think about it. You know, my kids grew up on the Biggie era, the Biggie, Jay-Z,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So they understand that,
Yeah.
you know, and stuff like that. So I'm hoping my grandkids will learn from their parents,
They
from
will.
my kids, what basically G-pop was doing back then and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you know, you think about, you know, 30 years, 20 years, stuff like that. You know, we think about old school music. So when I moved out here in the 93, old school music back then was Big Daddy Kane,
Mhm.
you know, was, you know, Special Ed, stuff like that, because it was back in the early 80s.
Mhm.
That's not old school no more. That's classic.
Yeah.
It's classic music now.
Man,
We don't, you know, there's not even a genre for that. It's classic rap now, you know.
we're classic.
Yeah, or classic.
We're classic.
You know?
You know, I'm 29 for the record. Just saying, I'm 29. You're just laughing. You're like,
Oh, yeah,
okay,
whatever,
say
okay,
that.
whatever.
Whatever, Samara, whatever. So, so you're working on this album. You're also working on a book and a documentary. Like,
Yes.
how busy can you be? I mean, I know it's hard for us to hang out.
No, I mean, it's not about hanging out no more. Basically, it's about leaving legacy with my grandkids.
Absolutely.
So, I have right now under my belt that, once this project is done and the one after, I will have almost 80 records with my name on it.
Wow.
Meaning that my publishing rights are gonna live a long life. Even if the record don't make it hot now, in 5 years, it can make it hot. 10 years, it's still there for them.
Yeah.
So whatever I do is for them. It's not for me no more. I already built my brand, my name, and stuff like that. That's what I'm doing now, a documentary. Because I like to record everything I do, behind the scenes, in the front of the scenes. I'm bugged. So I'm always bugging out somehow, behind the scenes, stuff like that. So I'm doing a documentary from the first album I did all the way to now. That's almost 9 years in between. So I have a lot of footage.
Yeah.
And then from there, God willing, everything happens. The book will come out after that. Book the true stories of Orlando scene.
Ooh, can you divulge some, maybe just a little tease as to, you're talking about the real street story?
So basically, there's a lot of DJs out there, producers, promoters.
It's no shade.
Yeah. It's just basically, it's a lot of people out there that will never true to themselves, and I know the true story behind them.
Ooh.
So again, I did my own lane, and I'm gonna stay in my own lane, and I'm not sure to basically put it out there.
Gotcha.
This is the true story behind the Orlando scene. Who's really who's really doing what, and that with nowadays, people see you on Instagram and they think you got a lot of money or you're doing big things because Instagram, social media makes you feel that way.
Right.
But think about taking that social media out and you really being there with that person who people know that true person who doesn't really have anything but friend like they had something.
Right.
So it's
All
like,
right. All right.
and also the book is about Orlando scene, also my life as well, from the Jersey City to Kissimmee. People say I don't rep Kissimmee, I do rep Kissimmee. It's just when I started my first company, I had to name it Orlando Mixtape Kings because you can't call it Kissimmee Mixtape Kings because Kissimmee, people only know by as, Kissimmee, that's it. They don't really know the name. If you put the market behind Orlando, then people, so Orlando's a bigger branch, in the music industry wise.
Right.
But I do support and love my Kissimmee people.
Absolutely, you do. You drive home every day.
Yes.
If that isn't love and support for your city, you're staying. Still, you're still out there because I know when we called to meet up for lunch that day, I was like, well, how far is it from you? Because I'll stay on the west side, you're down in Kissimmee, and I'm like, well, okay, it's about the same distance, but yet you're closer.
People say I live far, but why is it I live far? They don't live far.
They say I live far
but
too, but I'm like, I'm not that far though.
Who's to say that I live far though? Like, think about it.
No,
I do live far. The part where I live, there's no way to get there besides two roads.
Yeah.
And now a highway, but it leads you someplace else. But think about it, why is not the next person lives so far? Because when I have to leave my house to go to, and I'm gonna say because he's a good friend of mine. I'm glad we actually reconnected. Jay Johnson.
Yeah.
He comes to see me. He's like, you live far. I go, well, Jay, you live farther than me. You know what I mean? And I still go, I leave my house, at 10 o'clock at nighttime to go to a spot in downtown back then, or go anywhere else, even to Tampa, whatever the case may be, and drive back home that same night.
Yeah.
It might be 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning, but I'll get home.
Yeah.
And
when it was your birthday party at the Abbey,
right,
you had to go all the way back home that night.
I don't care. Yeah. I'm used to the ride.
Yeah.
I'm used to the ride. Again, I've been since '93. I tried to move into the airport area at one point. 6 months later, I came back to Kissimmee. And I'm not gonna move out of Kissimmee unless,
Yeah.
My kids tell me to move or something, but I ain't moving.
You're like, I'm done.
Yeah, I'm done.
Exactly. I've planted my roots. They're established. They're deep in the ground.
You don't realize how much stuff you have.
Oh, until it's time to move. Boy, oh boy.
Moving, they're moving almost 18,000 records. I don't want to move.
Oh.
Okay.
What? No. We're both at the age where we shouldn't be packing our own stuff anyway. We should have.
I can't have other people pack my records.
Okay.
You gotta,
I got it.
you know, can't keep them in the sun. Remember, it's hot in Florida. And if it's not hot, it's, you know, African hot or whatever you want to call it, jungle hot, you know?
It's some kind of hot down
Yeah,
here for
so-
sure. But you know, we're closer to the equator compared to, you know,
Yeah, I
Jersey.
guess, yeah.
Cut me some slack.
A little
Cut
bit.
me some slack. So real quick before we start to wrap this up, your birthday party last year at the Abbey was an old school
birthday
thing.
party, yeah.
Dude, it was a vibe. It was a whole vibe, and it was so much fun. But what was your take on your birthday party that night? How did you enjoy it?
You know, I don't drink like I used to drink before, so I see everything now.
You
I see everything
clearly.
I see everything clearly. You know what I'm saying? It was, like I said, it was a vibe. It was good, stuff like that. But honestly, to tell you the truth, the birthday party that's really gonna be the big special birthday party is my 50th,
And that is
because it was just in a year and a half. I'm
Okay.
48 and a half. We want to call it, you know.
So you're 29 too.
Yeah, I'm 29 too.
Got you.
I don't care. Listen, I'm 48. I'm still going, and I'm gonna keep on going till I can. But when I turn 50, it's also my 30 years of DJing in Orlando.
Oh, this is
As and not even put sorry, maybe put on that. Not a DJ, as being Junebuhg in Orlando. You know what I'm saying? Giving you everything I gave you.
So we're going to be looking out for your album release party on June 17th this year. Then in a year and a half, we're looking for a spectacle of a birthday party.
Exactly, yeah. So
I can't wait for that.
Yeah, I'm trying to do that one real special because not because I'm 50, but because it's 30 years of music industry for me in Orlando.
Bugging in Orlando.
And I want to, I want to bring people that are not doing music no more, but will do it for that one night.
Hey.
You know what I'm saying? You know,
so you can put me on the list. That's a good question. That's a big question that we all
you're
need.
always on the list, girl.
I love you.
You know, it's crazy. You know, we do go back. You know what I'm saying? You know,
Yeah, I know.
because you're my flyers.
We won't go there.
We won't go to Mars. But yeah. She's a pass my flyers down, you know?
Yeah,
She's a pass my flyers down. Right?
Exactly. Wow, that took me back.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So, you know, it's gonna be different. You know, I want to do a real. I think I'm gonna do that 50. Do like early, like a family thing for the, you know, people who have family come out, stuff like that, and that nighttime for the adults, you know,
Absolutely.
stuff like that, you know.
Absolutely.
I'm a family person now, you know. I mean,
Well, you know, I'm always late, so the later the better, right? I'm forever late. Sorry.
yeah, she's always late.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on and telling us your story. It's been a pleasure having you here, my friend.
No, thank you, and everything. I'm gonna support this as much as I can support for my platforms and stuff like that.
I appreciate you
But
so
I
much.
appreciate you for having me, stuff like that in Orlando. It's not the first, last of hearing about Junebuhg, DJ Junebuhg, however you want to call me. Bug. You know, Bug. Don't forget the album coming out June 17. I have my clothing line starting pretty soon, which is Street Certified Wear.
And it's comfy. I can tell you right now,
You know what I'm
it's
saying?
super comfy. I love it.
It's nice, like a lot of glitter and stuff like that for the females.
I like it.
Good.
Cool. Well, that's going to wrap us up for this episode of Riff On This. We hope you stay locked in for our next episode. See you soon, friends. Thanks for listening to Riff On This. A huge thank you to our guest, DJ Junebuhg. You can listen to Junebugh's latest music in the link attached in the episode description. Also, be sure to follow him on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram by searching at DJ Junebuhg. It's DJJUNEBUHG. Don't forget that H. You can also link me on my social media. Just search Samara Kokinas News 6 on Facebook and Twitter, or on Instagram, search Samara Kokinas. Before we go, a huge thank you to our behind-the-scenes production team, Derek Mosier, Ryan Haley, Rich Burns, and Joe Grennan. Please take some time to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And don't forget, sharing is caring, so tell a friend about us too. You can find videos of all the podcast episodes on clickorlando.com/podcasts. Until next time, friends.